Discovering Asian dramas back in 2018 was an enlightening moment for me, and I've never looked back. I enjoy talking about them just as much as watching them, so much so that I decided to create a podcast with a heavier focus on Chinese dramas but passing through Korean, Japanese, Thai and Filipino dramas. Welcome to the Tea and Soju Asian Drama Podcast, your corner for drama talking. For more tea and soju content, consider joining Patreon, where I release extra reviews and polls. Everything is linked in the episode description. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tea and Soju Asian Drama Podcast. I'm your host, Liliana, and this is a post-recording message because I actually already recorded the part of the episode that you're about to listen to a while back. I say about 2 weeks ago. So basically, this is the second part to my Till the End of the Moon review, which will be the spoiler episode review for episodes 16 through to episode 30. It is a little bit chaotic because my mind was all over the place when I was watching this certain portion of the drama. I had so many theories, so many things to, talk about. And also, I wanted to include a little special thing. So I've been following some really, really great accounts for Till the End of the Moon on Twitter. And I kind of reached out to a few and asked them if they would very kindly either send me a voice message or a text, and I would read it out loud and put them at the end of the episode. So they will be either like mini reviews from them or last thoughts or either a goodbye message. I just wanted you guys to also hear another part, somebody else's kind of thoughts on this drama. I loved it so much and I had such a really good experience with so many people watching along, so I wanted to share more people's thoughts, if that makes sense. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Again, this is still very much the spoiler part. There is no more. This is the second part, so if you haven't listened to part 1, go back to last week's episode and it'll just be Till the End of the Moon review part 1, and that is my non-spoiler part review, and also my review for episodes 1 through to 15 spoilers. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope it kind of allows you to relive a little bit of this drama that we all so much loved. And now, without further ado, we will jump right into the spoiler for episodes 16 through to 30 of Till the End of the Moon. Okay, so I've just finished watching episode 30. That means I'm going to sit down and record my thoughts from episode 16, because I did episode 1 through 15, so this will be 16 through to 30. And I have a lot of thoughts. I have quite a few theories that I want to put out there now, like before I watch anything else, to see whether those theories will be confirmed or not. So I'm really interested to go on, because as I've sat down, there is now 37 episodes available. So I cannot wait. I want to record this so I can go back in and watch. We're almost at the end, and that's a little bit sad because, no more Till the End of the Moon. But I feel like this one, I don't really rewatch, but this one feels like one of those dramas that I'm gonna want to rewatch because there's so many little details within the story that I feel like will work really, really well for a rewatch. Now, for this part of the review, episode 16 through to 30, my notes are kind of chaotic, so bear with me. There's, I have notes on my phone, I have actual written notes, so I'm going to go through them as best as I can, and hopefully this is like a cohesive, understandable part of the review. I feel like the more excited I get, like the more chaotic my notes get, and then when I try to get my thoughts out there, they just don't seem to, come out as well as I want them to, but hopefully this will work. I have written down for episode 16 is the scene where Mingwei is kind of like talking about how he's by himself, like all the other gods are gone and it's just him. And I thought that, you know, this was kind of like a really good parallel to Mingwei and Tan Tai Jin, because Tan Tai Jin is also very much by himself and has been for a very long time. So I kind of like that scene to kind of like bridge the gap between the two characters. I thought that was done quite well. And then the next thing that I've got is I absolutely loved like that whole little arc of them, you know, just him not knowing who's taking care of him and Sang-jo taking care of him. And then when he finally does realize that it's Sang-jo taking care of him, so his wife, I loved it, because it's kind of like he's seeing that even after everything that's happened between them, there is still love there. And I kind of like love that there's like that little shred of hope within that scene. So I really, really, really loved that. And I wrote down his line of Sang-jo, if I couldn't recover, would we always stay like this together in a forest? And he then goes on to say, destiny wasn't so cruel to me. And I'm like, oh God, now looking back at it, and now like looking back at that scene after watching up to episode 30, I'm like, bless him, he has so much suffering to come his way. And it's, you know, it's kind of like a contrast, because this drama does this pretty well. It's like it gives you sadness and it gives you a lot of angst constantly, but it has like these little breaks of, you know, peace, like these little mini very small pockets of peace, and it kind of gives you like it gives the audience like a little, you know, breathe in kind of moment, you know, relax for about 2 seconds before they turn it all around and go right back into the angst. And it allows for the storytelling to not be a constant, you know, high intensity, if that makes sense. And for me personally, as an audience, I really appreciate that. I appreciate like those seconds of, you know, those little pockets of peace, so to speak, just like little breaks before you get yourself ready for the next like bit of angst that's coming along. The next part is that I've got written down, and I will quote you on this because this is exactly how I wrote it down. The second female lead should burn in the depths of hell. She is evil reincarnated. Now, I have kept seeing throughout the whole drama that she's kind of like used as a plot device. And, you know, she's kind of like the force that kind of like makes Tanta, whether it's in this case, you know, Sang-jo and Mingwei misunderstand each other, or whether it's in the present time of Tan Tai Jin and Yi Shi-woo misunderstand each other. She's kind of like that character that does that. And it frustrates me to no end. Now, the problem I have is that it's the actress herself. It's not necessarily the character. I've had characters before where I just really, really, really dislike the character, but I can appreciate the acting, you know, that goes into building that character that I don't like. Whereas with this one, there is something about this actress particularly, I think it's a Chen. No, I don't remember. Let me just double check. I was on the right track. Is Chen Du-ling. Like, this is my first time ever watching her, and for some reason there's something that doesn't quite connect for me with that character. Now, I will say her scenes and also Deng Wei's scenes, they got cut a lot just because there was a lot of arguments about this drama, and one of the things is they're not going to cut the main couple. That's like your bread and butter for the drama. They need to be there because this is their story. Consistently, like, this is their story. If you take anything away from their story, the plot is going to kind of like fall apart a little bit. So it's obvious that they weren't going to remove as much from the main couple as they were from side characters in their depths of, you know, doing a 50 plus episode show down to a 40 episode show. So whether
me disconnecting with her. Like, she's on screen, I'm annoyed. And that's not necessarily a character thing. Like, I can be annoyed at the character, but still appreciate the acting behind that character. And for some reason, there's just something that's not quite connecting for me, if that makes sense. Now, I know this is a very controversial topic all over the place when people talk about, Chen Du-ling and, her character and whatnot, but that's just how I see it. But that was my my little thoughts on her. I don't know whether it's the character itself that's not quite working for me, or whether it's the actress herself that's not quite working for me. And to be honest, I don't think I'll know, just because we don't have that full uncut version of this drama to be able to see what her character was like before all of the episodes got cut. But that's that's all I have on that. So I kept thinking, right, that throughout this whole dream arc, if there wasn't the goddess, so the character that Chen Du-ling plays, this whole arc would have just been so different. She is kind of like the driving force behind everything that's happening now. When I was watching the dream arc back in episode 16 and 17 and 15, whatever, I didn't realize the importance of this arc. Like, I knew one of the important things was that it was going to teach Tan Tai-jin about love and about sacrifice. But I did not see how important this arc would become later on in the story. And obviously, it like, now, having watched up to episode 30, I can see there's so much more. So a lot of the things that I have in my notes from that time that I was watching those episodes is like, oh, the goddess really didn't need to be there. And now thinking back about it, actually, she kind of did, because there's a lot that happens. So, we go on into the episodes where, right before this, then the goddess kind of massacres Sang-jo's whole clan. And that's the trigger for Sang-jo to, become, the evil witch that is known to create the jade back in the present time. And basically, that jade does a lot more than we initially thought. So obviously it is the jade that not Lee Susu, that Yishiwu, I had a moment there. Yishiwu, this is what happens when you have like a 3 lifetimes kind of like connecting. But basically that is the jade that Yishiwu kind of takes out of Tan Tai-jin's eye and exchange it for her eye. So that is ultimately the jade that will lead to her death. But basically, like, that jade does so much more. It allows, Yishiwu to basically exchange the devil bone for her own immortality. And she got that idea from what happened to Mingwei and Sang-jo. She wouldn't be able to, have come up with that, beforehand, which leads me to a point that I've written down later on in my notes as I've been watching. I've got this theory going, right? So you've got Tan Tai-jin, you've got Lee Susu, Yishiwu, all of these characters, right? And they are your main pairing, they are your main important characters. However, I have had this slight feeling throughout the whole ongoing kind of episodes, especially through 16 and 30, and more so throughout, later on 20 episodes onwards, where yes, there is, our main couple, Tan Tai-jin and Yishiwu, but they are not in charge of what's happening. I feel like what's happening is kind of like an orchestrated plan by 3 people, which we see throughout the drama, but we don't actually pay as much attention to them as we should. Now, when I was watching the dream arc, there is a detail that is kind of like thrown at us, and that is when the devil god in the dream arc is being killed by Mingwei, he kind of removes his mask and he looks like, it's Lu Yunqi behind that mask. So it's the face of Tan Tai Jin. Now, that when I first kind of watched that, I thought, oh, maybe it's Tan Tai Jin. Like, that's what it was. So how could Tan Tai Jin and Ming Wei be in the same place? And that's why I kept thinking it's a dream sequence. You know, they are showing them, they are putting them through a past life that it is not. Like, I still believe that past life is not Tan Tai Jin and Yi Shiwu. I think that is Sang Zhou and Ming Wei, and it is a different, complete past life. It is not like linked to them in any way. Many people think it is. Many people think it isn't. I think it isn't. I think it's like it is a dream arc that is there serving the purpose to teach them to do, you know, certain things. And going back to that, like originally I thought that was like, you know, a past, it was Tan Tai Jin. But then thinking about it, it isn't. I feel like that devil god is like that past reincarnation of the devil god. And he's dead. So he wants to come back. And I feel like he's been laying the groundwork for him to come back. Now, there always has to be an opposing force to bad, right? That's how Xianzhou works. It's evil and good in tandem with each other. And I feel like the god of time, I always forget his name. So the god of time, Ji Zi, I feel like he's the second, like, puppeteer master. I'm going to call them like what I feel like. So this is my theory, is that there's 3 puppeteer masters at the top and they're kind of like orchestrating the whole story and where it goes. And they're kind of like, you know, everybody else is kind of like pawns except Tan Tai Jin. And I'll get to that in a minute. I was going to talk about this like much later on, but I feel so excited about this like theory of mine that I just want to talk about it now. So we're going to get into it. So basically, like for me, there's like 3, you know, puppeteer masters: the devil god, the god of time, you know, Jizi. But Jizi knows that he's not going to be around forever. Like he can see the future. He's the god of time. So he knows that he will die. So there is a scene, and we see this scene happen in the dream arc, and that's why I feel like it's, you know, the dream arc is so important for many reasons. He kicks one of his disciples down to earth, and for a while I thought that disciple was the right-hand man of Tan Tai Jin, you know, the one from the Yu clan. I always forget his name, but I'm hoping you guys know which one I mean. He's basically like his second in command, and you know, he's the one that kind of like looks after him and has all the you know, power to help him. Nyan Baiyu. So Baiyu, I for a little while thought Baiyu was the one that got kicked out by Jizi from heaven down to earth. And then I thought I was being a little idiot, because that's not the case at all. I then thought about it, and it's more likely that the person that the disciple that he kicked down is Pang Yizi. So the one that is helping Shaolin. So basically like the fortune teller, that, you know, that guy. And Pang Yizi is the most likely person to be like the disciple that Jizi kicked down. So I feel like he's the third, you know, puppeteer master, because when everything goes down and Shaolin dies and all of that, he's the one collecting things. So he's collecting the blood from Tan Tai Jin, he's collecting the lover's tear, and all of that is going to come back. I haven't seen it yet, but then when we come back, you know, after the 500 years, and this is now episode 30. Sorry guys, I'm bouncing all over the place, but I'm hoping this makes sense. I want to get this theory out there, and then I'm going to go back into just some favorite scenes of mine from, you know, the 15 episodes. But basically, like, when we come back from the Earth realm, and so Yi Shiwu is dead, and she comes back as Li Su, and we're now in the immortal sect part of the story, and he is there. So he's the one that orchestrated for Tan Tai Jin's body to be picked up. He's the one that orchestrated for Shaolin's body to be picked up and, you know, put into this sect. And I'm just like, they're like the players of chess, so to speak. And I feel it's like between the three of them. And even like the two minions of the devil god, they say that the devil god laid out a plan for them to be able to find that bone. So I feel like these three are the main players, and we only see them briefly, like we see them here and there, but they've been peppering clues and they've been like pushing and pulling strings all over the place. So that's my little theory. I actually also saw a comment on Twitter, and I've written it down because I feel like it is worth mentioning, and I'm pretty sure it's by Base over on Twitter. Love their Instagram, love their stuff, and basically they mentioned that basically everybody would kind of like fight for control of Tantai Jin, and there's a reason behind that. So this is why I really love their explanation and their theory about it. And they kind of said that Tantai Jin is the only like person in the story who has a foot in all realms. He is demon, he is human, but he is also immortal. He has the three, so he's part of the three realms, and that means that his choice, you know, bears consequences, and his choice weighs a lot. So whichever direction he goes in will tip the power in that direction. So I feel like everybody, not everybody, but like those three powers will kind of like fight over him. And I really liked like how Base over on Twitter put that into, you know, into a theory, because I feel like it, once you read it, it kind of really makes sense. So that's my theory. Again, I've only watched up to episode 30, so I don't know if this is where they're gonna go, if this is even gonna flourish, if we're gonna see any more about the, you know, old devil god, whatever it may be. But this is just where I'm thinking, you know, my thinking is at the moment. So I have I have a couple of things written down, and I will say one of the things I didn't. There's a scene, so when Mingwei is trying to send Sangjo away, still in the dream realm, and she asks him, have you ever loved me for a little bit, even a second? And he says no. And this is a direct parallel till later on when Tantai Jin asks the same thing of Yishiwu, and Yishiwu makes it very clear that no, she has never loved him. And I kind of love, like, there's a lot of role reversal between the dream arc realm and the current times. So there's this like bouncing, and how, you know, stuff that Tantai Jin would ask is stuff that maybe Sangjo kind of asked, and that kind of brings them together. So, you know, Sangjo, it's kind of like the dream world was kind of like a walk in other people's shoes, if that makes sense. I feel also like one of the main takeaways from the whole dream realm is the fact that Yi Shiwu kind of gets to learn that I'm sorry, my dog's just making the weirdest noises in the background, and he does not seem to want to stop today. So we're gonna let him just do his thing in the background, and hopefully that's not too loud for you guys. But like I was saying, so basically I feel like, you know, this is the dream world is kind of like the taking a walk in somebody else's shoes. It's kind of like showing Yishiwu that not necessarily people aren't born evil, but they can be pushed to do evil. And I feel like she kind of needed to learn that to kind of see behind Tantai Jin. So she kind of like can see a different, you know, part of him now. So I think that was a really, really good takeaway. Just some lines from the, you know, dream realm that kind of wrecked me. One of them being, it's my first time being a husband and I didn't know how to love you. And I'm like, oh, this is just so sad. This is when, you know, they're dying, and the dream world is coming to an end. And actually, when that scene happens and Mingwei has the choice to become evil, he chooses not to do so. And I feel like that was really important for Shiwu to see, because at first she did just still want to kill him. But I feel like the dream world just like made her see that there is a different route for her to take. She doesn't necessarily have to kill him, but she does have to subdue that devil, fetus, whatever they want to call it. So I feel like it showed her a different part. So another line that I really, really liked from the dream realm, I'll always be the god of war, loved by Sangjo. So, that is why this part is so important, is because they kind of like learned a lot from it. Also, somebody mentioned this and I didn't pick it up, but basically Yi Shi-woo entered through the devil red eye and Tan Tai-jin through the clear eye, which is like almost dictating like where their life is going to go through, in the Bora life dream arc. So that was really interesting to see. And then we jump right back into, modern time. By modern time I mean back to Tan Tai-jin and Yi Shi-woo, and there's just so many scenes. I could literally be here all day because there's so much happening in every episode. And one of the things that I have to say is I love Yi Shi-woo and Pianran. Like, that little fox and Yi Shi-woo, just they're like the bickering best friends that I'm living for. And I was destroyed when they killed Pianran. I thought she was going to come back. We haven't seen that, and I don't think she will, which was just devastating. And to me, I will say, like, Pianran and Qingwei, so the general, the fox and the general just have so much chemistry. Like, their chemistry is better than the second couple for me personally, and that's why I kind of didn't get the argument of a lot of people saying, well, they there was a lot of scenes cut for the second couple and that's why there's not a lot of chemistry there. And I was like, well, the general and the fox had even less screen time and their chemistry was smoking on screen, so I don't necessarily think that's an excuse for the chemistry to not be quite on point, at least for me personally. I mean, they may work for some people, but for me personally, the second couple just doesn't work that well. So yeah, episode 20, can we please talk about the stunning, absolutely stunning scene of them on the swing and all the fireflies? That is just like the swooniest moment. I loved it, and it kind of shows how Tan Tai-jin has learnt, even if only a little bit, to love. And I feel like that was something that, again, the Dream Realm, arc taught him, and it shows because it's so beautiful. I love that scene, and it's such a simple gesture. Like, all he does is conjure up some fireflies, but it makes us so happy, and then he's happy because she's happy, and that's a beautiful, beautiful scene. So that's all I've got for like the Dream Realm arc, I think. So we're gonna move on to all the other things. So I have to move on to my phone because now this is where I've got the rest of my notes. So I was saying that over the course of like episode 16 to 21, Tan Tai-jin has warmed up a lot to Yi Shi-woo, and he's learning to love, but he's like, his love isn't necessarily what we would consider love. It's almost like an obsessive love, and it still shows that it's still Tan Tai-jin. It's just like, for now, a mellower version of him, if that makes sense. So he's still learning to love. He's learning these feelings. Now, he's never felt before, so his reactions are going to be somewhat warranted. Now, his crazy reactions are not, but, he doesn't know how to react to these feelings, and everything's very new to him. So it's kind of like understandable that he doesn't know how to deal with it. But I just love seeing him kind of like grow a little bit and learn a little bit more. I love the fact that, so we're now into the phase where Tan Tai Jin and Shaolin are fighting and they're on opposite wars. Now, for me, Shaolin's character is meant to be like this very noble character, but there is this niggly thing about him that I don't understand. And please, like, just let me know if this was you as well. So, you have the general, right? So Yi Ching-wei, who is, you know, Yi Shi-Wu's younger brother, older brother. And he's a general. And he realizes that he needs to put his people first, even if that means letting go of his country. And he does so. And I feel like that is such an admirable thing to do. Shaolin is like, I get it. It's his kingdom. But Tan Tai Jin would have welcomed his people like he had been doing for quite a while. And what's his name? Sorry, I had a brain moment right now. Shaolin should have been able to see that the ruler he was becoming, that Tan Tai Jin was becoming, was the best route for the people. Now, that might have meant that he wouldn't rule, but why does he still keep bringing bloodshed? I don't understand why he insists on going to war. And I get it, filial pity with his father and everything. But his father is in the wrong. And, like, as a ruler, you should know when to, like, step up. And I feel like Shaolin just did not step up to the plate as a ruler and, like, as a person who is meant to rule over people. Like, he should have put his people first. And I feel like that wasn't the case. So, unfortunately, he lost a couple of brownie points from me for that, if that makes sense. I mean, the Shang Kingdom Emperor just had to go. He is the nastiest piece of work. Like, how dare he disturb, like, Tan Tai Jin's mother's ashes? I don't understand how I felt so awfully bad with that scene, because technically, like, that is the most disrespectful thing you can do. And, like, within their culture and everything, like, praising the dead and, you know, respecting the dead is such a big thing. And for him to, like, scatter her ashes, like, to break her pot of ashes like that is her urn of ashes is horrible. Like, absolutely horrible. Tan Tai Jin was giving you a chance, and yet you still chose to push him to the max. And it's kind of like this thing where I start to think, is it nature or is it nurture? Is it like the consequence, like, is Tan Tai Jin choosing these actions because that's the way he is? Or is just the fact that these horrible things keep happening and keep pushing him further into this hole where he's gonna make, you know, evil, bad decisions? It's like, is it a case of what is happening around him, or is it a case that he would always react this way? It's a really, really good argument to start thinking about. So, yeah. And then we move on. The next thing that I kind of have down is that there's quite a bit of miscommunication between Yi Shi-Wu and Tan Tai Jin, and that kind of allows for characters like Bing Chang to get in between them. Now, I don't like Bing Chang. I still don't like her at episode 30. I still, you know, don't think... I get why her character is there, but I still don't like it. But she just causes a lot of trouble, and people keep giving her chances over and over and over and over again. And I don't understand why. Like, this character has been known to do some vile things. Why are we keeping giving her chances? Like, you're opening yourself up for trouble, guys. You just are. So yeah, I don't like her character. I don't think I will by the end of the drama. I mean, there's not really I don't really care if there's a redemption arc for her or not. I just don't like her, so could really care less what happens to her at this point. But yeah, so she kills the maid with, like, no mercy, and that just shows what kind of things she goes on to do. I mean, she kills her grandmother, for Christ's sake. She's stolen Pian Ran's love threads, which was just horrible. But the scene where Pian Ran gets her love threads back, golden. I loved it. Loved that scene, and loved how Tan Tai Jin kind of, like, got to see the love threads and kind of, like, got to see what they were made of. That was a really, really nicely done scene. Again, jumping all over the place, but I hope you guys are sticking with me at this point. So yeah, I don't get it. And like, so when they come back from the arc, I understand that there's quite a lot of chatter about Yi Shi-woo's character. And I feel like Yi Shi-woo is such a misunderstood character, because at the end of the day, that's not Yi Shi-woo, that's Lee Soo-soo, and she has a purpose. Even if she is in love with Tan Tai-jin, it's exactly what she says right before she dies. How am I supposed to risk everything on the slight off chance that he chooses to make the right choice, that he chooses to not let evil in? Like, it's understandable. She saw her whole clan die. And I think a lot of us kind of forget and just assume that it's easy for her to do what she's doing. But it isn't, because she does have feelings for him. And now there is a question that I've kind of written down in my notes later on, and it is the fact that what speaks louder? Is it actions or is it words? Now, Lee Soo-soo has never said that she loves Tan Tai-jin, but she has showed him kindness, and for a long time it was because she wanted to keep him alive. But after that, like, once he becomes the emperor, he's pretty powerful. Like, it's going to take a lot for him to die. So she no longer needs to take on that role of, like, keeping him alive. So then there's certain actions that she does, like, especially her last sacrificing thing where she changes her immortality for his devil bone. Like, she says it's because she doesn't want to owe him anything. But is it? Or is it the fact that she doesn't want him to die? She wants him to stay alive, but she also wants to, like, keep her clan and the whole world safe. So I feel like it's a really hard place to be at, and I feel like people throw a lot of hate towards Lee Soo-soo as a character in terms of because she keeps hurting Tan Tai-jin. She doesn't want to hurt him, but there is certain things that she needs to do, and I kind of understand where her character is coming from. I still love her. I still love the fact that she's a girl boss sticking to her guns and understanding that this is what she has to do. So yeah, does it hurt, the fact that she has to hurt him? Of course it does. It feels really, really upsetting that that's the way things have to be. But again, is it her fault, or is it, for me anyways, I still think it's the three guys up there, you know, puppeteering the whole show and wanting things to go a certain way. Because even when she's like, I'm done, I'm so done with everything, Jizu, the god of time, pops into her little dream and is like, are you really going to give up? And kind of like urges her to go in a certain direction. So this is what I mean, but I think that like those three up there are just kind of like, you know, making things like trying to guide things to go a certain way. So that's, you know, some notes for that. Oh, I loved one of the lines that I wrote down is like when Bing Chang is just trying to gain Tan Tai-jin's favor, and he says to her point blank, Yi Bing Chang, in my heart you are worth nothing compared to Yi Shi-woo. And that's like one of the worst things that anybody can say to her, because she has such an inferiority complex towards Yi Shi-woo. And I'm like, yes, you hit her where it hurts, because she definitely deserves it. I really, 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 really liked the fact that one of the things that they misunderstood about each other, so this is, episode 21 still, it's, that, Yi Shi-woo quickly finds out that what the Shang Emperor did to Tan Tai-jin's mother's ashes, and she kind of looks for him, because she knows, like, her reaction initially wasn't done, and what, you know, Tan Tai-jin did was warranted after what the Shang Emperor did to his mother. And he says to her, you looked at me with fear. I've gotten used to everyone else looking at me that way, but how could you do the same? And it's like, oh my god, it is true, because she's kind of like the only person in his life that in some sorted way kind of like cares for him, and he's like the only one that he cannot disappoint because it hurts him so much. And then, you know, I think his confession near his mother's tombstone was just so beautiful. And the way he says, Yishiwu, the one I love is you, no one but you. And it's like, there is, you know, for him to say something like that, to come from the Tantai Jin, where he was kind of like, didn't even know what love was, to this, it's like been such a journey for him. And that was beautiful. Episode 22, I've just kind of written down that it is like feels like a little break before all hell breaks loose again, and it is stunning. We get the scene where they do the sword fight as the devil god and the immortal, and that was just so pretty, really beautifully shot, and then just running through like the streets at the festival, so that was stunning, really, really beautiful. Loved the whole of that. Episode 23, I've kind of written down, are you, one of the quotes that I really liked, are you enemy or my lover? It's the lines that like Susu, like says, it's her, what she says, and it kind of like shows how blurred the lines have become for her, because she is questioning whether that is her enemy or her lover. And, you know, so actually this happens in episode 23. I kind of got it mixed up, but yeah, 23 is when they get picked as a devil god and the goddess, and it's like indicative of the future, because that fight has happened just in the future, not in the past. And I love the fact that Shiwu kind of says, you're no one else, you're Tantai Jin. And it's like, you know, as I'm watching this, I'm like, yep, this is truly the calm before the storm. Everything's about to, all hell's about to break loose. I can feel it. So yeah, I, you know, that is what it is. And then we jump about, and episode 24, I kind of just said, again, I don't understand Yi Bing Chang as a villain. She's bad, but like her reasoning for being a villain is really petty. Like, it's just inferiority, and it doesn't make for a convincing villain. I feel like the devil god is gonna have a way better villain story and a way better, like, what's the word? A reason to be that way than Yi Bing Chang. Because Yi Bing Chang is just like, oh, you know, nobody loves me, boo-hoo. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. It gives you no, realistic reason for you to be a villain. And I don't know. So yeah, that's what we want. And then again, we see that Yishiwu's put in a really bad decision because she doesn't want to go. This is the case where Tantai Jin has already caught Shaolin, and he's like in prison and whatnot, and it's, you know, really sad, and it puts Yishiwu in a really bad place because she doesn't want to betray Tantai Jin, but she kind of needs to help Shaolin as well. So yeah, it's like, it's a situation that is ripe for misunderstandings, and as we come to see later on, it definitely goes to that. So then we see episode 25. We kind of see how volatile Tantai Jin is in this episode. Like, he doesn't understand love because he's never really received it, and Shiwu is like either with him or she's with him. That's like, there is no choice for her, and there's no room for anything else. Like, he wants to control her, and, you know, which is, you know, is obvious by him making her kill what he sees as his competition, which is like Shaolin. So yeah, that was evil for him to make her kill Shaolin. And the worst part of it is that this comes from a misunderstanding of, you know, Yi Bing Chang kind of poisoned the porridge, and it, you know, not Shaolin, Tantai Jin kind of saw that it was poisoned, and he assumed that it was Yishiwu who poisoned it to kill him to save Shaolin. And it's like, it's all bred from a misunderstanding, which makes it even worse, like where they end up in the situation. So yeah, seeing like Shaolin die, especially involuntary by her hand, I think Susu is kind of like reminded, and this is episode 26, that like the importance of her mission and how powerful Tan Tai-jin has already become. Like, she may love him, but her mission is too big to risk on it, you know, to risk in the name of love, if that makes sense. So she's putting her mission before her. She's kind of like reminded of why she's being put there. And she's like, he is, you know, meant to become the devil god. And this has, you know, his actions are kind of like showing how evil he can become. So I feel like this is her, you know, her awakening again to what she needs to do. And like the prison scene where she is in prison and so this is after their marriage, which is really bittersweet. They have like so many marriages and every single freaking one of them is bittersweet in this. This is after their marriage and she puts the spikes in him. And also, how many scenes are we going to have of them laying side by side near death's door? Because there's a few and it keeps happening and it's really sad. And this show just puts the watcher through it, I tell you. So, you know, there's the prison scene and she kind of like, kill me. And one of my favorite lines, and it's kind of like, it's bizarre because it's a really dark line, but it, you know, it works. And it says, and that is Tan Tai-jin's line of, you know, so Yi Shi-woo says, kill me. And he says, since my affection means nothing to you, have a taste of my hatred. And that scene, guys, the acting by Liu and Liu Yun-shi are just, oh my God, I don't even know what to say because the acting, the emotion, you can feel like it's this ball of hatred and love and just everything. And it's like this kaleidoscope of emotion and it's like bursting and they just burst onto each other. And it is stunning. Like this scene, this prison scene is heartbreaking and it is painful, but it is also so good. So good. I love that scene. So yeah, again, episode 27 is when I wrote down like that, you know, puppet master theory of mine of Jizu got a time and, you know, Pang Yu-zi and the devil god. And basically like I was just writing all of that. And I also wrote about the base, you know, Twitter person base who talked about the, you know, how Tan Tai-jin has the human side, the devil side, and the immortal side. So that's what my notes are for episode 27. That's kind of like when everything started to make sense to me in terms of like my theory. And I think it might be like lots of other people's theories, but I just feel like those three are kind of like, you know, pulling the threads, so to speak. And I just find it really interesting. So yeah, also in this episode, why did that little fox have to die? Again, I mentioned it before. I don't understand why they did not bring Fox back yet. Up to episode 30, Fox is not back. And I don't think our general is back in the immortal sect part as well. And I'm just so sad. I'm sad. I'm really sad about it. So it is what it is. Their death scene was beautiful. I really loved like their journey as a whole. So yeah, and then I just have some notes for episode 28, and I wrote, in his own twisted way, Tan Tai-jin has always wanted the best for his people, and he's united the whole country. Even the Yi family is finally fighting for the world Tan Tai-jin has created. Can we talk about Susu's ultimate sacrifice? Like, I feel like it's right. Do you guys remember, if you watch Korean dramas as well, I'm going to mention this because I wrote it down because it's what it reminded me of. The Red Sleeve from 2021. And everybody was like, oh, she doesn't really love him. She never says she loves him. And I was always of the opinion that she showed it through her actions. And I feel like with Till the End of the Moon, it's the same thing. So Yi Shi-woo doesn't necessarily show, like, she doesn't say she loves him, but I feel like she shows it through like her sacrifice. And she may say it's because, you know, she wants to save the world, or, you know, she basically wants to, you know, repay him. But I feel like there's a lot more. And obviously there's a feeling that she just probably doesn't want to admit it. And then obviously we see, you know, Yi Shi-woo die. And can I just say, Bailu has some of the most beautiful death scenes I have ever seen, and they always land, and it's always in snow, and it always happens to be, you know, she's dressed beautifully, and it's just like, she just looks stunning. I know, it's a death scene, but it's a beautiful death scene. I know those two don't quite make sense, but that's what I'm going for. It is a beautiful death scene, and I feel like then obviously episode 29 we kind of see Tan Tai-jin's descent into madness, and I really, really like that it's the general that kind of comes in and kicks him, you know, and shows him and be like, look, you need to get yourself into gear. And I love the fact that basically you know, we get to see him kind of like plan for the world before he leaves, because if he didn't learn anything from Yi Shi-woo, he would have just done whatever the heck he wanted to. But no, there's a beautiful line that he says, she loved this world, so I wanted to try to love it as well. And I love that he kind of like prepares the country for his death and for his going away, and you know, he leaves it in capable hands of the general to kind of like deal with it, and I just loved it. I feel like it works so well of like him making his exit, and it shows that like he left a legacy behind, and the country kind of like flourished with him as the leader. And I'm like, if he's capable of all of this, then why, you know, there must be a way around. Now, are we going to get a happy ending? Are we going to get a bad ending? I don't know. I sat down to record today, and I was on Twitter, and somebody mentioned that there's been so Yoku has actually approved a couple of special episodes for, you know, this drama, which I'm really excited about. So hopefully they will give us a happy ending. I don't know when they're going to be released, so I may have to finish up all of my recordings and then maybe come back in another episode and kind of like just mention it quickly about the special episodes. I don't know. We will have to see when they will be released, but hopefully we shall see. That's it. That's my very chaotic thoughts from episodes 16 to 30. I will be back. Well, I'll sit down for you guys. You'll just keep listening to me, but it's really bizarre for me working this way. I'm hoping it's going to work. But that's all the thoughts I've got for episode 16 to 30 of Till the End of the Moon.
And now I've put all my thoughts out there, so I will hand it over to my first mini guest review, so to speak, for her thoughts on Till the End of the Moon.
Hi everyone, my name is Renske. I am a huge K and C drama romance fan. I identify as a professional shipper. You may or may not know me as @BazEmpire on Twitter, where I tend to mainly tweet about romance and the latest TV ships I'm watching. The reason I started Till the End of the Moon was because I'd watched the leads in Love is Sweet at the beginning of this year, and after finishing that, all I knew was that I needed more of their explosive chemistry. I mean, that show was so much fun to watch. I can honestly say that Till the End of the Moon, it had me in a chokehold from the very first episode. I mean, as soon as I saw the devil god descend from those skies with his red eyes and his metal claws trying to choke the female lead, I mean, I knew I'd found a possible new holy grail of enemies to lovers romance. I mean, the premise of having the female lead witness the male lead destroying her entire family to be then sent back into time to try and stop him from becoming the devil god. I mean, I knew I was in for some quality angst. The joke is definitely on me though, because I don't think I realized how angsty and painful it was going to get not having read the book, and they really made me suffer. And I probably aged 10 years watching this show. I love Till the End of the Moon so much, though, for the emotional roller coaster ride it gave me. I mean, it was super fast paced. The aesthetics were amazing. The chemistry between Luo Yunxi and Beilu was off the charts. I mean, they really had me cough up so much glitter during so many of their scenes, especially during the first, I would say, 22 to 24 episodes. I think after that it possibly got a bit too angsty for me, but some of my favorite scenes include like the dance scene on the boat, the ending of episode 7 where she finds out he's not the weakling she thought he was. I really love the ship a lot. I also have to mention Luo Yunxi's performance. I mean, he was so good in this. He played a number of characters, and I could tell the difference between each single one of them. And if I were to say anything negative, I mean, clearly there were pacing issues, there were editing issues. I think there was a bit of a lull towards the end. But the pacing and the editing issues, I mean, I blame on China. It is, it is what it is. And then I must admit, I am struggling with the ending a bit. It's really depressing to think about Tan Tai-shin's journey now, knowing that all that he suffered and overcame had to end with him sacrificing his life for a world that, didn't really care about him. I do choose to believe he comes back at some point, but yeah, I feel the final message was anything but uplifting. And, as for the romance, I struggled with the love story at times too. I think it was because, the love Lee Soo-soo showed him, it wasn't 100% pure. She always had ulterior motives to care for him, look after him, rescue him, and I think at times I wished we'd gotten a little bit more of her point of view about her feelings for him. And I usually eat angst for breakfast, but I think after episode 24, 25 or so, the angst, it became a bit too much for me, especially those last scenes in which, Lee Soo-soo tells him, or she doesn't tell him she loved him, and he has to create a scene where she tells him himself. It's definitely going to take a while to move on from that, and part of me is almost relieved to be off the pain train. But yeah, overall it was a great experience. Like, I loved the buzz on Twitter about it. As a, if you need any therapy like I do after finishing Till the End of the Moon, then I highly recommend you watch or rewatch Love is Sweet. That's where I'm at the moment.
And now for our second guest, Ayana.
I was a huge fan of the novel and the two leads from their previous drama, Love is Sweet. But even I wasn't prepared for how much this drama would mean so much to me. Being a fan of Xianxia for 5 years now, I've loved everything about it. But even then, I can say that Till the End of the Moon was so vastly different and wonderfully unique compared to the rest of the previous dramas in the genre. And that's mainly because of 4 things. 1 is story. Good versus evil, gods versus demons. That's basically every Xianxia plot you can imagine, and Till the End of the Moon was no exception. Just from episode 1, Susu was already out on a mission to take out the devil god's evil bone and kill him. Pretty easy to follow, right? Until you watch more episodes and you realize it's actually not all that simple. It's much more complex than that, filled with overarching plots and arcs that enhance the story, and you find yourself just sitting there with your mouth hanging open going, damn, how did I not see that? Good and evil are not black and white. They're gray. They're a choice. And it's a message deeply entwined throughout the drama and even in the characters themselves. Number 2, characters. I love them all. Each one is unique and so wonderfully written. The leads Tan Tai-jin and Lee Soo-soo are as different as night and day, but it's through this difference that they begin to know one another and grow as people. I also love the fact that they're both such great individuals. Their interactions both made me squeal from the fluff and banter to the sexual tension and cry from the painful angst. 3. Acting. Lo Yun-shi and Bailu were phenomenal and absolutely sublime, seamlessly stepping into their roles and becoming the characters themselves. It's no easy feat to portray multiple characters in one drama, but they did, and it was such a treat to see. They've managed to play each character so distinctly, it's not hard to identify who they were in a specific scene or episode. I dare say these roles were their best performances among their body of work at the moment. 4. Visuals. It's clear as day that Yoko put the best of their massive budget in the CGI and the costumes, and it paid off. Till the End of the Moon is without the doubt the most visually stunning xianxia I've ever seen. The elevated effects make the whole drama watching experience even more immersive. Each of the realms feel real, and it's as if we're in them the same way the characters are. Like many adaptations, the drama wasn't perfect by any means. Pacing was rather choppy and all over the place by the last arc, which I assume was due to the scenes that were cut and edits they had to make to fit 40 episodes, which is the same really, because the Immortal Realm arc has a huge bulk of the important lore in the novel. I wish they would have executed this arc better. That, and I didn't really appreciate the amount of screen time the second CP had. Monu's character was an unnecessary addition, and even her last scene together with Gongya Jiwoo felt so random. Still, despite the flaws, overall it's a phenomenal drama, one that I will always treasure and rewatch as many times as I can, once I get over the heartbreak the ending brought me. I was on team happy ending from the start, so the bad ending / open ending was really rough for me. I cried so hard and it took me many days to actually recover just a little bit. But I've come to accept that that's the best ending for the drama. Now I choose to fondly remember Tantai Jin and Susu's happy moments together. Thank you Till the End of the Moon for making my 2023 truly memorable. Thank you Lo Yun-shi and Bailu for bringing Jinsu's story to life.
And that is it. That is the full episode of Till the End of the Moon review, episode 16 through to 30. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I had a blast recording it. As you have heard, it was chaotic. And now for me, listening back to it, having watched the full show, is actually quite a lot of fun. Let me know what you guys thought of this format. Is it something you kind of enjoy listening to or not? If you're listening to on Spotify, I'm going to leave a question that you guys can go and answer, or you can go and tell me what you have thought on all of my socials, whether that be Instagram or Twitter or, email. I leave everything linked below. So let me know what you've thought of this format so far. And lastly, I just want to give a big thank you to both of my guests. They were so gracious in, recording their thoughts and sending them in. I had a blast listening to them as well, and I feel like it just adds a little something extra to the episode, listening to somebody else, give their thoughts on this drama. And that is it. That is everything. I hope you guys are doing well in your corner of the world, and I shall see you next time. Bye.
This has been another episode of the Tea and Soju Asian Drama Podcast. I'm your host, Liliana, and you can come and chat to me on Instagram, Tea and Soju Pod, all one word, and on Twitter, tea_soju_pod. You can also email me at teandsojupodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to support this podcast, please consider joining Patreon for extra content. Lastly, if you enjoy this podcast, please help by rating and reviewing wherever you listen to help others find this drama corner. I'll leave everything linked in the description notes. See you next time for more Asian drama chatter.